Hey guys, GameBoy3800 here once again with a little bit of a different video. I've got an automation car here today because this is modeled lightly after my real-life truck that I dubbed Poison Ivy, and it's a 95 Chevy C2500. I'll throw a picture of it here. And I think I was able to recreate like the grill of it pretty good, but unfortunately automation does not have the right shape of body, so I just kind of swung or winged it for the rest of it. And yeah. Well, what I did get right though is the engine. I gave this a 7.4 liter V8 that is heavily choked because of the TBI fuel injection and the awful headers. So even though it's a 454, 7.4 liter, it only makes about 250 horsepower or 230 horsepower in that ballpark, and about 380 foot-pounds of torque. But I have upgraded the exhaust system to be better flowing, and I've removed whatever dumb filter was in front of the cold air intake, so it's now got a more free-flowing system. So I bumped that up slightly in automation to 260 horsepower and about 400 foot-pounds of torque. And I'm going to see how this truck drives around this track, and I'll time it around the track from the start line here. And then I also made a version that has twin turbos, so that I could see what adding some forced induction onto my real-life truck would possibly perform like. So I'm using the automation game to better understand how I could upgrade my real-life truck. I think that's really cool. I've driven around the automation test track many times, so I almost know the track layout. And I gave this truck as realistic handling properties as my real-life truck does, so it's got a sort of manual locker rear diff that's open all the time, really, because GM rear diffs are pretty awful. I give it a 4-speed automatic that sometimes shifts to the right gear. And I gave it an ESC just so that the automation game would tell me to, so I could get to shut up about the wheel spin. In BeamNG Drive, it has no issues with wheel spin unless you're doing a burnout. And I think it's a fairly accurate representation. My real-life engine has a very low red line, like the red line starts at 4,500, but it tops out at 5,000. So I don't really know what the true red line is, if I should have given this in-game engine a red line of 4,500 like I have, or if I should have done 5,000. But most of the time you're just city driving anyways, so in there stop and go, you're never on full power. I gave it like pretty chunky tires, and I give it a little bit of like aero bits that probably don't do anything, just to help give it a better rating in automation. One weird thing with automation is even though this truck's material cost was only about $7,000, it said the market value was $111,000. So I don't know what's up with that. I didn't do too many high quality things. Tried to get the weight to be accurate too. I should get the weight pad out after this run is done to find out how much it actually weighs with fuel and stuff in it, with coolant and stuff. Because I think the weight in automation is a dry weight. And that's the start of our flying lap. First lap is always a bit of practice. Then we go on to the flying lap. There's the gearbox almost finding the right gear. That is pretty accurate. In fact, there's one time actually when I gunned it on a straight, and it went up to fourth for a second before going down to third. It's like, I don't know what it was doing. That's why I want to get a manual truck sometimes, just so I can tell the truck what gear to be in. Like, you can kind of manipulate the throttle of an automatic to put it in the right gear, but it's never consistent. Yeah, so far this truck is handling pretty good. It's pretty heavy, and it's not very aerodynamic. It's not got the most amount of grip of any automation car I've ever made, but I think it's fun enough. Seem to be topping out at around 120. I guess that's about accurate for a truck like this. And this corner is always a tough one here. It tightens up real quick at the end here. In fact, I don't even stay on the road. So the next vehicle we're gonna take out is the exact same vehicle, literally no changes, except I added economy or fuel efficiency twin turbo setup. And I very slightly changed the exhaust, because you gotta change the exhaust anyways when you do a turbo swap. So I give it a very slightly bigger exhaust and a basic twin turbo setup. And I wonder how much better it'll be. Like, I'm sure it'll spin some of its power away on the inside wheel, as we already are seeing here. But I think the main gain will be on the straights and then acceleration out of these corners once we can calm down that one tire fire. And here comes our lap time. Yeah, it needs a much heavier flywheel to have the rev characteristics of my real life truck. Because my truck holds revs way better than this. Oh well. Go ahead and give that a reset. And spawn up the twin turbo edition. You can see literally exactly the same, but it has a boost meter now. We'll take off the ESC. We'll pull up to the line here. Bit of a burnout to start off. And away we go. You can see we only max out at about 9 psi of boost. Not too much. I was very conservative on the boost. All I want to know is how an engine like this would handle the boost and extra torque. This twin turbo upgrade takes our horsepower from about 270 to 316, so it's not the biggest jump in horsepower. But we go from about 400 foot-pounds of torque to over 516. So that's a pretty big upgrade in torque, and we can see it there, spinning away that tire. Didn't change the brakes, didn't change the diff, didn't change the gearbox. This should be representative of if I just got like a small supercharger, like a Roots or a Pro Charger, and just slapped it on the engine as is. As the engine, I found out, already has a mild hydraulic cam, and that's usually pretty good for low-end torque, which is good because it's a low-revving engine. And so far this is handling pretty much exactly as before. It's just going a little bit faster in some places. Like, it's a 2500 model, so it's got, what, an extra 1,000 pounds of heavy steel to make it a heavier duty chassis. So it's never going to be sporty. I just want a little bit more get up and go. I also have no idea what the rear diff is, but I gave this a 383 rear end, I'm pretty sure, or 389. It's better than a 373 or 375 that a lot of trucks could have come with, but it's not as insane as like a 410 or a 409. So, still pretty conservative, pretty realistic. With the intercooler size, it's actually not getting any hotter. It's good to know. And is this the start of our flying lap? Oh man. Cut that corner. I'm going to stay off the throttle a little bit, just so that it doesn't wreck the time too hard. It's going faster than I thought it was, so maybe that's something to actually watch out for. Upgrade the brakes, or at least the ABS. ABS does work, but automation cars have been finicky with their automationness in the past. A little bit of a rear lock up there was causing me to slide out before the corner. Actually gave me a fairly good straight out exit, but it was pretty slow. Overall, I think this is a pretty good representation that automation can do. Just for whatever reason, it's not got the 90s GM style of vehicles. Like, this is I guess more of a 90s Dodge. And Dodges are cool too, but obviously I've got a Chevy. At least I was able to make the front fascia. Front fascia is what is the main standout of my truck. All chrome and stuff. Alright, let's see if I can get the braking down here. Right, a little bit early, but that's better than being way too late. A little bit of a drift. Still keeping it together. Other than the corner cut at the beginning, I think this has been a pretty fair lap. It does seem to be holding the revs a little bit better. Probably because it's struggling for grip. And that's the time. We had a little bit of a mistake at the beginning. I'll go around once more if I don't make another mistake. Oh no. Okay, never mind. We've wrecked it. Oh well. I guess it wasn't too bad. Twin turbos or any kind of forced induction onto the big block that I've currently got seems like it could work. Just other areas would need to be looked into as well. Maybe brakes. And I guess that'll about do it for this video. I'll see you all in the future. Goodbye.